August 9th, 1993. A group of Ukrainian kayakers is making their way through the Snezhnaya River in Buryatia, Russia, headed toward the Kamar-Daban mountain range. While sailing down and chatting with each other, they notice something in the woods. A young woman, standing still. They immediately call out to her, asking who she is and if she needs help or perhaps is lost, but she doesn't say a single word. Whatever she saw up there had left her completely traumatized. The group takes the woman to a police station, where they discover that her name is Valentina Utochenko, a hiker who had been visiting the area as part of a tourist expedition through the mountain range. But the concerning part is that she wasn't alone, or at least she hadn't been when she started her hike. Seven hikers take a train to Irkutsk. They are led by 41-year-old Lyudmila Korovina, a master of hiking sports. She is the oldest and the most experienced. With her are 24-year-old Tatiana Filipenko, 23-year-old Alexander Kryzin, 19-year-old Denis Shvachkin, 16-year-old Victoria Zilasova, 15-year-old Timur Bapanov, and 17-year-old Valentina Utochenko. They are planning a trip to the Kamar-Daban Mountains, part of the Siberian Range. Although most of them are just teenagers, they are well-trained and experienced hikers. The expedition is carefully planned, the weather is expected to be good, and the Kamar-Daban Mountains aren't considered dangerous in the middle of summer, when the area is usually full of people. Their route starts from the village of Marino, near the Snezhnaya River. From there, they follow the river into the forest, heading toward the Langatai Gates Pass, a path that takes them deeper into the Kamar-Daban mountain range. The plan is to follow the Burun-Yunkatsk River, climb up Konalu Mountain, and make their way to a flat area high in the mountains. Another group, led by Korovina's daughter, Natalia, is supposed to meet them on August 5th. After that, both groups would head toward Slyudyanka, the final stop of their trip. A heavy rainstorm had set in, forcing the hikers to change course, causing them to miss their planned meeting with Natalia's group. Exhausted and cold, they decide to set up camp near the summit, a choice still questioned today, as a proper shelter was only half an hour away. They spend the night enduring the harsh conditions, hoping the storm will be gone by morning. On the next day, August 5th, the storm not only continues, it gets even worse. Lyudmila knows they can't stay exposed, so she orders the group to descend into the forest below, where the wind might be less severe. They never make it there. Minutes after they start descending into the forest, Alexander Kryzin, the strongest among them, suddenly begins to stumble. Just moments ago, he seemed completely fine, but now he collapses to the ground, convulsing violently. Foam pours from his mouth, and blood streams from his nose, ears, and eyes. The others stay in shock, watching him die right in front of them. Realizing how serious the situation is, Lyudmila knows they have to act fast. She stays behind with Alexander and tells the other two boys, Denis Shvachkin and Timur Bapanov, to lead the others into the forest. The remaining 5 hikers continue onward, leaving Lyudmila and their dying friend behind. But as they disappear from view, screams begin to echo behind them from the top of the hill. They rush back, only to find a disturbing scene. Alexander lying dead, and Lyudmila collapsed beside him. The same thing that happened to him is happening now to her too. Blood trickling from her mouth and eyes, gasping for air. unable to move. Meanwhile, the other girl, Tatiana Filipenko, starts removing her warm clothes, leaving herself completely naked in the cold. Valentina runs to help her, but suddenly, Tatiana bites her. Then she grabs at her throat, as if something inside is hurting her, and crawls over to a nearby rock and starts smashing her head against it over and over until her skull cracks open. Dennis can't believe what he's seeing. His friends are losing their minds and their lives one by one. Everything is happening so fast. He's so scared that he runs to hide behind the stones. A few seconds later, Victoria Zalesova and Timur Bapanov also fall to the ground and begin twitching violently and bleeding. They grab at their clothes, tear them off, and hold their necks as if they are being choked. Dennis goes to help Valentina, unsure of what to do next. They just run from the place where their friends lost their minds. But only minutes later, Dennis starts bleeding badly too. And soon, he falls and dies as well. In just a few minutes, everything turned into a nightmare. What started as a group of 7 people was now down to just one person left to survive. Valentina Utochenko is the only one left. She can't survive without supplies, so she makes the difficult decision to turn back, taking a sleeping bag, food, and a map from the dead bodies. She uses what little she has left to stay alive. And for 4 days, Valentina follows the Stanzanaya River until the kayakers finally find her on August 9th. For unknown reasons, a search party is not sent out until August 24th, nearly 2 weeks after the first report. It takes 2 more days before helicopters finally find the bodies on August 26th. What they discover is horrifying. One of the searchers described the scene as a terrifying picture. The hikers were lying on a small ledge, some close together, others a bit farther away. Their mouths were frozen open in terror, their eyes missing, eaten away. Worms and insects crawled over their skin. Most of them were partially undressed. 3 of them were barefoot, and all had badly damaged lungs. When the bodies were examined during the autopsy, the main official cause of death was listed as hypothermia and protein deficiency, and only Lyudmila was found to have died from a heart attack. Usually hypothermia can make people hallucinate and experience something called paradoxical undressing, where they take off their clothes because their body tricks them into feeling hot, even though they're actually freezing. This might explain why some of the hikers were found partially undressed and barefoot. The lack of protein could have only made the hypothermia set in faster. The official search was led by Yuri Golias, who was absolutely certain and blamed Lyudmila Korovina for the deaths of the whole group. The evidence for this is that Lyudmila regularly took groups into the mountains and often returned early because they couldn't handle the intensity of the trip. She was known for pushing her students to their limits, including cutting back on food and not providing them with the proper clothing for the conditions. Even further, Lyudmila would intentionally choose poor campsites to, as she put it, toughen up her students. When they found the group's last campsite, they discovered only 1 empty can of beans. This led many to believe she made just 1 can of beans and forced all 7 to eat from it, essentially starving them. As for Lyudmila, the heart attack might have been caused by stress and panic. When she saw Alexander Krisin collapse in front of her, she was deeply upset and started crying. Korovina was very close to him, almost like a mother. That's why she also stayed with him and told the others to go into the forest. However, all that still doesn't fully explain the other strange symptoms they all had. Hypothermia, protein deficiency, and heart attack don't cause people to foam at the mouth, bleed from the eyes or ears, or show signs of erratic behavior. Another thing is that hypothermia is really hard to confirm as the cause of death during an autopsy. There are some signs, like red spots on the skin or Wisniewski spots that can point to it, but the bodies were found 2 weeks later, already badly decomposed, so it's really hard to determine. And about the protein deficiency and the idea that Lyudmila didn't feed them, Valentina strongly resents this theory. In fact, this is the main reason it took her so long to share her side of the story, is because she feared that people would think she was protecting Lyudmila. She said that they all had a good meal that same morning before going down into the forest, and they'd been eating well throughout the whole trip. She said that Lyudmila was extremely careful about making sure the group had enough food. She even detailed how each person was supposed to eat 2,400 calories a day during the trip. Also, it was summer, and the group had only been outside the tent for a few minutes before everything went wrong. If hypothermia was really the cause, how did all of them die so quickly, while Valentina managed to survive for 4 more days under the same conditions? Not to mention, when their bodies were found, searchers discovered sealed plastic bags that contained warm, cold weather gear. So even if they got so cold, are we really supposed to believe that not one of them thought to open the bag and put on the extra clothes? Lyudmila was known for being good at finding wild food, so maybe she picked a poisonous mushroom or berry without knowing and gave it to the group, an idea that's definitely possible. A bad mushroom could have caused the hikers to hallucinate and even suffer internal bleeding. Others say they might have drunk contaminated water from the nearby Lake Baikal, which is known as a place where toxic waste gets thrown into. If that waste made its way into small rivers or streams near their camp, the group could have ended up drinking it without even knowing. But the problem with both ideas is that Valentina said they never went out to look for wild food or drank water from the lake. They were well fed and had brought enough food and water with them, all eating the same meals and drinking the same water. And more importantly, if they all ate and drank the same thing, how wasn't Valentina poisoned too? And don't forget, Lyudmila was an expert at this stuff. She knew the area well too, so it's really unlikely she would make such a serious mistake. But if it wasn't the food and the water that poisoned them, then what was it? Around the time of the incident, it's known that Russia was working on dangerous nerve agents, mainly Novichok, one of the deadliest ones ever made. It was developed by the Soviet Union and Russia and was reportedly tested in areas near Kamar-Daban. What's even more strange is that work on this nerve agent happened between 1975 and 1993, the same year the incident took place. Novichok is extremely lethal and can even be absorbed through the skin, so it only takes a tiny amount to kill someone. These kinds of gases are heavy in the air and stay low to the ground, which could explain why everything started happening when they began descending. Many believe the group may have walked into an area where these chemicals were tested or dumped. That could explain and match their strange symptoms. It would also explain why they were scratching at their throats, like they could feel the inside of their lungs and throats burning from the Novichok as they breathed it in and coming up as blood. The bruises found on their lungs confirmed the idea that they breathed in something that seriously damaged them. Nerve agents can also cause heart failure, which lines up with Lyudmila Korovina's cause of death too. Supporting this theory is the fact that after authorities were alerted about the missing group, they did not initiate a search until 2 weeks had passed, despite clear weather. Some believe the delay happened because they were waiting for whatever nerve agents were in the area to disappear before sending anyone there. This could also explain why the official report said it was hypothermia. It's possible the medical examiner knew the truth, but didn't want to interfere with the government. However, there are again some issues with this theory too. First, the hikers were only about 100 meters from a shelter designed for visitors in a fairly popular location. If the military were testing or dumping weapons, it seems unlikely they would have chosen such a well-trafficked area. Wouldn't they have selected a more remote location instead? And the same question remains. If there really was a deadly chemical in the air, strong enough to kill the whole group so fast, then how did Valentina Utachenko survive, given that she was in the same environment?